Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 234 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest joining on the show for the first time ever. Oh my God, everybody give it up for the wonderful Hans Gougar. How you doing, Hans?
I'm doing well. It's great to be on here. I've been listening to you guys for a while.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us finally on the podcast. Hans is here to join us to talk about the final wave of DLC that just dropped this past week for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. The game is done. It is complete. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about this week's news, which, involves the live action Zelda movie happening. Our podcast host, David, is responsible for that. We've also got a Splatfest coming up where we're going to settle, whether we're a hug or a handshake family up in here. And Game Awards nominations were also revealed this week. But before we get into all of that, how's everybody doing? How's everybody's week been?
Pretty good. Yeah, not too bad. Yes, the Zelda movie is being made by Game Awards nominee David Howe. No, that's not exactly true. But the show that I work on is nominated for a Game Award for Best Adaptation, Castlevania Nocturne. We just found that out today, so everybody's really excited and pumped to lose to The Last of Us. But it's good company to be in, man. The Last of Us and the Mario Brothers movie was a good year for video game adaptations. We're just happy to be among them, and who knows? We might take this thing home.
You might. It's an honor to be nominated.
It's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah.
That's what I tweeted. And then other than that, I've been watching a lot of TV the past week, and I've been listening to a lot of Beatles. I was talking about that right beforehand. I'm on a Beatles kick right now. And I've been watching a lot of great animated television recently. I finished Pantheon, which was an incredible fucking, probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. I know you downloaded that, Patrick. I sent you a link to it. I don't know if you've watched it.
I haven't watched it yet, but I will.
Okay, yeah. I sent that link to my dad too. I'm trying to get everybody to download that link.
We'll talk about it at some point. Yeah.
yeah. I'd like to. But Pantheon was incredible. And then I'm watching Scavenger's Reign right now, which I've been really enjoying. It's like a HBO Max original show about a bunch of people stranded on a planet. It's gorgeous, mesmerizing animation. Good time to be an animation fan. What about y'all? You all been? What are your weeks been like?
I'm doing a lot better than I was last week. I feel in a lot better mood. So I don't know if anything's really changed. I'm just feeling a little better. I don't think I have a whole lot to report in terms of interesting things that have happened, because I don't think anything really interesting has happened. But I'm just doing okay. Just
sometimes the interesting thing that happens to you is that nothing terrible happened to you.
Nothing terrible has happened to me.
That's not a bad thing. No news is good news, right?
Yeah. The days get older and we get older and the days just fly by.
The days get older.
The days get older.
You know what they say.
We get tired and it's time to go to bed now. How are you doing?
All right,
Summer?
Grandma. I'm doing good. I am getting ready to take a big trip up to the Great North to see my family and friends, go spend a weekend in the Wisconsin Dells with my friends at Colossal Con North. So I've been getting some things ready for that. And let's see, I guess my bigger thing too is I've started, I think I finalized a design for my Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild cosplay of Cass. I'm not going full mascot suit with it. We're going Gajinka, which is the word we use when we're doing a humanoid more version of something that isn't perfectly human.
Got a flavor of Cass in there.
Yeah, we usually use that word when we're cosplaying something like Pokemon. But because I'm not doing a big old bird suit thing for Cass, I'm calling it a Gajinka for that reason. And I just that my goal for that cosplay is MagFest, which is at the end of January next year, because my hope is, I'll be able to take my accordion and be, a musician at the big old video game music festival. Yeah. What about you, Hans?
I had a good week. Last week was a really busy week at work. But then over the weekend, I played a board game with friends. I always like board games. I played a big long one, actually. This one right here, Oath, really good game. And then I went to see the Marvels, which I enjoyed a lot more than I expected to.
Same.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend after a really busy week at work.
Awesome. Well, last week we did an episode on WarioWare Move It. And over in our Discord, a couple people, Lee and Swampy Southpaw, both said they're playing it and enjoying it. Over on Instagram, Sprowlick said David's on Wario's payroll. Your enthusiasm for the game is. Are you getting paid by Nintendo to say that you liked it? Or by Wario?
Just you guys don't get any money from Nintendo, but I have been getting paid by Nintendo the entire time we've been doing this podcast to show their products. Sorry that you're finding out this way, but you guys put me in charge of the coffers, and no, not at all.
Good stuff. And then over on YouTube, we got a couple of messages from our friend AVK. One of which is about the reference to clowncore. I think Jordan's not here. That got me curious about what clowncore is, and I've been like on a really big kick of like finding new bands and listening to new music. And clowncore is weird, y'all. It's good. I like it. It's two guys.
What are they?
It's a I forget if it's a saxophone. I think it's a saxophone. A guy playing some brass instrument. I think it's a saxophone, and a drummer, and they wear clown masks, and nobody knows who they are. But everybody knows that they are from the band Knower, which is also not something I was familiar with, but it's sort of like a jazzy kind of indie band. Clowncore is very similar to some other music I've been listening to, with like Too Many Zoos and Moon Hooch.
And the Beatles.
Not so much like the Beatles.
Stop trying to make the Beatles everything about the Beatles, David.
Anyway, I'm off on a weird clowncore tangent. Thank you, AVK, for your comments. I think
this is
the
the
point
clowncore
here.
podcast now.
Yes, it is.
We also got some comments on the YouTube from Scary Fingers 101 with an update on the Donkey Kong's no longer their boyfriend, and then a bunch of puns, y'all. NDA, non-donkey agreement. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah. I responded to the comment, but the story about being excised from the Kong family is quite literally canonically what happened to the enemy Mankey Kong from the first Donkey Kong Country game. So if you ever need a support group, got somebody you could talk to.
If you too want us to talk about you and in this way, you can send us a note or comment on one of our posts. And we appreciate hearing from viewers and listeners, and we'll try to shout you out. And definitely hop over to YouTube if you're not watching the video version. Hopefully there'll be a video this time, and you can hit like and subscribe over there, and that would help us out a lot.
Please do.
And we are moving right along to the news. We made it.
Chugga.
First up is we got a quarterly Nintendo financial report. They had an investor meeting or whatever they do at these times. There's a Q&A. There's slides. They announced that Zelda movie, which we'll talk about separately in a minute. We're going to focus on, for now, sort of the numbers and that fun stuff. They always update us on hardware sold. There's been 132.5 million Switches sold. It's pretty big, y'all. I don't actually remember what the last number was. I don't remember how big this was, how much they gained in 3 months, but approaching that 150-ish range of being the best selling.
158 for the PS2. We're getting to the point where it's slowing down pretty considerably, right? Like I always was like, yeah, this is going to hit it for sure. But I do think there could be a world, especially if they announce the Super Switch and it's coming out like early, mid next year. I think they're going to continue to sell Switches after. But I don't know if they're going to sell like 20 million Switches after, right? So
We'll see. I know that they did like put their projections down, but then they've put them back up a little bit in this update here. I don't know the exact differences and all that, but yeah, it definitely seems possible, but it also seems possible that it won't happen, right? Given where we
wish
are.
there was a way to know how many PlayStation 2s sold after the PS3 came out, because I feel like that would almost be an indication.
Yeah, I think the PS2 is still selling in Brazil.
Shut up, dude.
I'm not kidding. Like Brazil, like they
that's
still
true.
sell PS2s out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you can use it as a DVD player, and that's the reason why the Switch isn't going to reach those numbers. You can't play DVDs on
FIFA games were coming out for it until kind of recently.
Did you not hear that physical media is going into cartridges now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting 4K cartridges.
You can put your little DVD movie in the Switch. Yeah.
Listen, I did purchase cartoon episodes on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yep, of course you did. Of course we both did that.
Or like they had the little like thing that you like clip on your belt that would play like CDs and movies and like, I don't know. That back in the 90s, there was like a bunch of weird.
Yes, that were all on chips.
Yeah, they were like little chip formats. Anyway, we've gone down a tangent. Something I found interesting about this financials was, and I might be wrong on exactly this, but in the past like month or so, or maybe even the whole last quarter, Mario Kart 8 sold more copies than Tears of the Kingdom.
Wow.
Did you guys see that? That was an insane statistic that I saw. That basically, like, Tears of the Kingdom had a huge front-loaded run of sales, but the amount that Mario Kart 8 continuously sells still outsold it. Pretty crazy stuff.
It is crazy that it's still at the top, obviously, of the software sales, and it's past 50, or maybe it was already past 50, but it's 57 million copies of that game have sold. That's pretty crazy. I'll be honest, I don't, other than the movie, which is a big thing, will kind of separate. I don't see a ton of other little details. Did anybody else notice anything? The Q&A didn't have much that I found terribly interesting from skimming it. I didn't like read every word. I don't know. Did y'all catch anything good in that or in any of the other info?
I mean, there's a lot more kind of fuel for the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible fire. There's a lot in there about how the new system will carry over previous users' purchases and stuff like that. Like not saying you can play it on this system, but saying the whole point of a Nintendo account is to keep purchases throughout the system, So it's like every little nugget of information we get is like a tiny bit more leading us to you'll be able to play your Switch games on whatever the next Switch is, right? But they've still haven't come out and said that yet because I think they're just waiting until they reveal whatever it is to actually say that, right? But they are really trying to, they're really trying to say that like Nintendo account is like the future of Nintendo Online.
They haven't said it yet because it's going to be Switch and Wii U and 3DS games.
Yeah.
I guess they did show off that the new Mario Wonder game sold like over 4 million in the first 2 weeks. And there was a big emphasis on like Pikmin as an example of them kind of like growing a more minor IP into a bigger thing, which makes you wonder if they plan to do that with some other things or if they're just showing off to their investors. I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, Pikmin 4 had an incredible launch based on these slides, and it's really awesome to see. Hopefully we don't have to wait nearly as long for Pikmin 5.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, you mentioned, Tears of the Kingdom. That's now on that top 10 list, obviously, and it's maybe not quite as high as I even thought, but it's still got time, right? I guess. I don't know. If it'll ever beat Breath of the Wild or not, but still pretty high up there. Should we do the thing? Should we talk about them? Yeah.
Let's move on to what we all really want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, as part of this, they announced that there's going to be a Zelda movie. And I think this maybe surprising thing to hear is that it's going to be live action. And then there's been some details about it. And I'm not a big movie person, but I know Hans and David, y'all both are. Maybe you can give us some insight into the people that we know are involved in this project.
Well, first of all, I think we have to say that this was announced via a tweet by Shigeru Miyamoto that started with "This is Miyamoto," which I found very funny. Lots of memes came off of that immediately. I think one of my favorites was "This is Miyamoto. There's no time to explain," which I really like. But yeah, no. This is crazy. I mean, it was inevitable that they were going to make a Zelda movie. I am disappointed that it is live action and scared because it is live action, honestly. Disappointed for many reasons. I think that this story would be so rich to be told in an animated format. And it's also just like so much harder to fuck up something like this in animation, I think, you know? Also, I now can't work on it because I work in animation. I'd love to actually work on this, but yeah, Hans, what do you think about some of like the people that are behind this?
Yeah, I was actually looking into it a little bit earlier. So I have not seen any of Wes Ball's other films. He's the director. He did the Maze Runner movies, and I haven't seen those, but I think I've heard that they're among the better in that wave of like mid 2010s, like YA movies. Yeah. Like I've heard that they're better than some of the rest of those. So I don't know. The writer is Derek Connolly. He did the Jurassic World movies, which I don't care for.
I don't like those either.
I like Kong Skull Island pretty well, and I thought Detective Pikachu was fun. So I don't know. I'm always somebody who is willing to reserve judgment until the film actually comes out, because I feel like everyone has potential to make something great, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and then you've got Avi Arad as well, who is the producer of the movie, Arad-san, as Miyamoto referred to him in his tweet, who has been a longtime Sony producer, right? So he has produced basically all the Spider-Man movies. I think like the original Iron Man, like I think he was one of the first guys to actually start up the MCU. And then was pretty much quickly kind of tossed to the side for Kevin Feige early on. And, you know, so it's like, and he's got kind of a reputation as well as being like the guy who like ruined Spider-Man 3 by like shoving Venom into it or whatever, or like making it too many storylines and making not the movie that Sam Raimi wanted to make. So we're not looking at a great pedigree. We're looking at like a Hollywood formula. Let's work with what focus tests well based on consumer data sort of thing, and not like, oh, we're picking this person because we like their artistic sensibilities. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that right off the bat is like a red flag, right? I mean, this could be great, but I think we're going to have to see a trailer to see like what this movie's even going to be like, right?
Do you think that they're chasing sort of the Game of Thrones, Witcher, Wheel of Time, big fantasy live action thing, and that's why they went live action instead of cartoon? The fact that there's fantasy live action is big right now?
I feel like no, because those are all TV shows, and there hasn't really been a big like fantasy series in film in a long time. Like Dune, you could kind of say is one, but that's more sci-fi. I think maybe they wanted it to be a little bit more mature, and some people still have a feeling that animation can't be more mature, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that pierces my soul to hear.
But
that.
do you also? But
as for the movies, I think. David, you and I are both biased towards animation. But part of that is understanding the public opinion.
Totally.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's like
sucks.
The only adult animated like feature films that come out go straight to streaming, right? Like when's the last time something that wasn't a kid's movie is nominated for an Oscar or something, you know?
But shouldn't this be a kid's movie, y'all? Like I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like
no, I mean
I think the best movie that I think of as basically a Legend of Zelda movie is Princess Mononoke. And I think Princess Mononoke is a great example of like you can show it to kids, but it is a little bit more mature. But it has like what I think of as like a Zelda kind of a vibe.
Yeah, they totally took the style of that game for the last two Zelda games, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the entire Legend of Zelda franchise, though, right? Is like you're able to handle these serious topics, but also respect children enough to understand them. And that's the issue that I think that Hollywood has when it comes to animation.
Yeah. I don't think they're trying to go for like Game of Thrones so much. I think they're trying to go for like Hunger Games. I think they're trying to go for YA. It's like everything is giving YA from this, right? Like, and so that for me, I have in my mind, like lower budgets, cheaper feel. Obviously they're not going to do that. They're going to throw a lot of money at this thing. They made a fuck ton of money off of Mario, so they can put some of that forward into this, right? And the Wes Ball, the director, is doing the new Planet of the Apes movie, which I've only seen one trailer for, but it looks good, right?
Yeah.
So it looks quality, and it looks like sophisticated, and it looks mature, even though it's a silly science fiction fantasy world, right? So it's like you can get some of that gravitas into it while still being something that's going to draw kids in. Then yeah, that's the balance you want to do, right? But we'll just have to see. There's just so much crazy expectations on this, and like, yeah, I don't know. They got a tough road ahead of them. And now we have to talk about fan casting.
I think that's great, but can I also just mention that Sony being involved is kind of ironic or funny?
Yes.
Can we just slip that in there too?
It's weird that it's not Universal, especially given that it's like the screenwriter of the Jurassic World movies, they did Mario, and then I don't really know exactly why they went with Sony this go round.
Especially, knowing that Nintendo is like moving into the Universal parks too and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd think they'd keep that relationship.
It's weird.
Anyway, now let's do the casting. Who do y'all want for Link? Does anybody want anybody?
I don't know the names of anyone. I'm the wrong person to ask.
I was talking to somebody about this today, actually, at work. I want it to just be somebody that they do extensive casting for, and it's just like some nobody that is really good. Like probably mid-teenager or something. But like, I don't think that they need to get any stunt casting or anything like that.
100%.
I think that they should, if it, like when they cast like Ganondorf or something like that, that's where they put someone like you're famous. But I think Link and Zelda probably should be kind of nobody actors who just happen to be really good.
I agree with you, but did you see what they did with the Mario movie? Like,
yeah, but that's also like animated movies like always do stunt casting, to get the parents in to like watch the movie with it. Like that's something that Illumination's been doing fucking forever, right? And like everybody does. Pixar does it and everybody, right? Like
so you don't think that'll necessarily translate?
I mean, I think that Hollywood wants to do away with movie stars in general. I think like Hollywood like wants there to just be, they want IP to get what draws people into seats. And I think that you don't have to have a big name star for either Link or Zelda. I think you're right, Hans. I think like where we'll see it is like Ganondorf. I think like an Oscar Isaac or something like that could like be Ganondorf, right? Which is probably something like that is what they'll go with. I think whoever they get, I would love if Link was androgynous or played by a woman, or like Peter Pan style. Like I've always thought that like if you're gonna do Link, like have a woman play Link, or a non-binary actor or something like that. That's like a lot more androgynous because that's clearly like how Link is designed. That
was always the intention with Link,
right? Exactly, and I think that
would be really awesome.
Yeah, I know. I've been seeing on the internet Hunter Schafer being thrown around for Zelda quite a bit. Awesome actress, trans actress from Euphoria. And I'm even looking at that and I'm like, dude, fucking play Link. Like you could like I feel like Hunter Schafer could play either of these characters and play them really, really well. They look like a fairy.
No, that's a good point about Zelda though, because there's so much gender discourse around Zelda because of Sheik as well.
Yeah.
And just like gender discourse in general because of Zelda and Link. That's always so interesting. And so like the idea of that being explored in that way, I am into it.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if Nintendo's willing to like take that, step forward
at the Hollywood level.
That is yet to be seen. But I mean, Hunter Schafer would be an amazing pick, a really good actor.
I've never seen One Piece, but I saw somebody suggest similarly Morgan Davies, who's not somebody I'm very familiar with.
Patrick, I just Googled Morgan Davies. I have no idea how well this person acts, but they sure look like they could be in this movie.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I did not. Yeah. I don't know much about them, but they are apparently a trans masculine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're in.
We're just
they're
like
in
trans fan casting right now.
They're in Evil
More
Dead
and more.
Rise.
Yeah. Oh,
Evil
is that
Dead
true?
Rise
No,
was
and they
great.
He was fantastic in One Piece. Yeah.
Cool. Well, either way, I think that this is what Nintendo should be pulling for this kind of casting. Is not necessarily get a trans actor for either of these characters, but it's like get someone who
All
is
of
a bit more. Yeah, get for all of them. Yeah. Get somebody who's not like a Tom Holland. Like the last thing I want to fucking see is like a Tom Holland or a Timothy
I
Chalamet. You
know.
know, because like that's all I'll be able to think of like when I'm watching it. Like I want to get lost in the character. You know.
I know we should probably move on, but can we also just talk about story for a minute?
Sure.
Like, what are they going to do? Do you think it's just going to be a very basic Save Zelda story? Or do you think they'll go with a specific game? Or do you think...
So since you're bringing this up, the other thing that I was thinking of saying in relation to who the writer is going to be is that I remember one of my big takeaways after seeing the Detective Pikachu movie was that I was really satisfied with how they handled describing enough of the Pokemon universe and how they how they chose to go with the Detective Pikachu like storyline, because it's so much, I felt like it was a much better story to tell in that way than like, I'm a 10-year-old trainer going to go get the 8 badges. Like, as far as like the story that they chose to tell. And I thought that the way that they explained the Pokemon universe from that lens was really good. So that's like the one thing giving me hope about like the story is because of how the Detective Pikachu movie was handled from a storytelling perspective, because I really enjoyed how it was told from as a person who's like super invested in Pokemon.
Yeah, the world building was really good, right?
Yeah, I thought it was handled really, really well. So that is one thing that whatever they do go with is giving me like a glimmer of hope in maybe the Legend of Zelda movie is going to be based on one of the season's games or something that a lot of people didn't, one of the games that didn't sell as many copies.
Yeah, I think
it's gonna be Spirit Tracks actually.
Yeah, they should just do Spirit Tracks for sure. No, I think the best thing for them to do would be basically a new story, but using an amalgam of the mythos, using an amalgam of the tropes. You know what I mean? Like have, you know, every Zelda game is a new story, essentially, whether or not it's in a timeline that may or may not be a thing. Like, just take the tropes, take the mythology of the goddesses. You can start like that, and then have, you know, just those kind of you know, come up with a brand new thing, you know. And I think we'll see. I mean, you know, we talked about you know, Derek Connolly. I got a lot of pause when I saw Rise of Skywalker in his writing credits, but it was the version that was completely scrapped. You know what I mean? Like the one that he wrote with Colin Trevorrow, that like the Duel of the Fates it was called originally, right? So it's like, which I've heard was like way better than what that movie ended up being. So it's like, and that had some like actually like really interesting ideas in it, you know, like from the plot stuff that got leaked from that script. Like they actually were taking the Star Wars story into new interesting places. And so that's what I want to see, is like a big swing, do some new stuff, but give us, you know, what makes Zelda kind of intertwined with that. I don't know. Now I'm getting hopeful, but it's probably going to be awful. Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to think, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because then we can't be disappointed if it's wonderful. That's how I went into the One Piece live action. I was like, I don't know what to expect from this. And now I am rabid for One Piece. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we should move on. Anything last on this before we go on?
No,
all right, we're moving on.
Exhausted the topic. Yeah.
We'll go through these next ones pretty fast, probably. Splatfest this weekend, November 17th through 19th. What's your go-to greeting? Handshake, fist bump, or hug in Splatoon 3? I know I'll be playing some of this weekend, and I'm pretty much sure I'm going to be a hug, y'all. Like I'm rogue hug, even if everybody else picks something else. So
yeah, you're always giving unwanted hugs.
Unwanted. Now I find this out. What a way to find out so much today.
I'm abstaining because I'm a kisser.
Yeah, hug is overwhelmingly winning the poll in our Switch Headz Discord. So that's what I'll be joining as well this weekend. So yeah. Come join us with Team Hug in the Splatfest this weekend, gang.
we're just gonna roll through this one. Indie World is happening between when we record and when we release, so we'll have to talk about it next time. Hopefully, you enjoyed watching the Indie World presentation. We all
Isn't it?
By the time you're watching this, you will be playing Silk Song on your Nintendo Switch.
I was about to make the same joke. Isn't it
shadow
crazy that
dropped.
Silk Song is coming out?
Sports
And you'll be
Story
playing
2
it.
is out. Yeah.
Oh boy. And then Valve. We're moving on. Valve announced a upgraded Steam Deck. They're taking a page out of Nintendo's book, right? And calling it the Steam Deck OLED. I don't know. It looks there's like a limited edition one, right? That they were advertising that looked pretty cool. But I don't know. David, sell us on what makes this one better. It's not just the screen that they're updating too, right?
It's like a litany of very small improvements, but it is a fucking litany. It's like a lot of things. It's pretty similar to like the Switch upgrade in that like when the Switch got the OLED upgrade, it also got like the battery upgrade that like kind of the Shadow upgrade got, right? So like a lot of people who had a launch Switch getting the OLED means that now they have like they went from like 4 hours of battery to 7 hours of battery life, right? Like the battery is really improved in this system as well. The OLED screen draws less power than an LCD screen in general. So there's that. And then also it's a 50 megawatt hour battery instead of a 40 megawatt hour battery. So a lot of these big AAA games that would die in like 80 minutes or so or kill your Steam Deck really fast now can last like 2 hours or something like that, right? Or over 2 hours. So that's actually a pretty sizable improvement. It's now coming, the base model, like the cheapest model now, it's the same price as the 64 gig one was originally, but now it's the 256 gig, like the mid-tier LCD model is the cheapest model you can get. And they're phasing out all the other LCD models. The middle one is going to be OLED at 500 gigs, and then the highest one is 1 terabyte. I think it's lighter overall. They fixed up a bunch of the buttons. There's a whole ton of stuff that they ended up doing with this. I'm trying really, really hard not to buy this because I have.
It weighs less.
Yeah, not appreciably, but it's like 20 or 30 grams less, I think. Yeah. So I've watched a bunch of like reviews on this, and that's like really taking me everything not to buy. You know, it's like. Because I have a Steam Deck and I know a Super Switch is going to come out. And so I'm just like going to get that. And I'm happy with my Steam Deck. I play it all the time. But man, everything I hear is that OLED screen is incredible. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully next week I haven't bought a Steam Deck OLED.
By the time you're listening to this,
David will be playing Silk Song on his OLED.
on his OLED Steam Deck.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say is this is not like a Steam Deck 2. Valve has said they're still working on a follow-up to the Steam Deck, but that is not going to be out for another 2 or 3 years. They said that the technology doesn't exist yet for what they want to do with the
super
follow-up
Steam
to
Deck.
the Steam. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Which it would be cool if they just followed Nintendo's naming model from now on. But
oh boy. Anything else? I think it was other Dylan, though. Maybe it was you, David, that posted that you should, if you really want a Steam Deck and you don't care about getting the new one or getting one used, that there are a bunch for sale now on like on Craigslist and stuff.
And once this OLED goes live, I'm sure you'll be able to get a refurbished original real easy.
Yeah, I think, or just off Facebook Marketplace, or you could buy my Steam Deck, which I'm going to sell when I get an OLED.
All right. Well, anything else on that one? Anything?
Looks great. I'm really excited.
We're moving on to some news surrounding Microsoft. They've announced that they're working with, I'm not familiar with this company, InWorld AI, to create some dev tools for, I presume, sharing, but maybe just in their,
the pipeline.
Yeah, in their own pipeline, but maybe these kind of tools will be made available for purchase or for, big studios, but to use AI to create various things. One of the things that I thought was somewhat interesting, and I think, there's a lot of worry about AI and there's a lot of promise about AI, right? But one of the things I think that is interesting that they talk about is using it potentially for like NPCs and chatting with NPCs and having them respond kind of realistically or whatever. which I know that there's somebody who like made a game like that using Chat GPT and stuff like that, and people that are already kind of experimenting with that. Maybe one of the more interesting uses. I don't know. How do we feel about this? Anything I glossed over, or any other big picture part of this?
I mean, it's disappointing to see in an era where, like Jeffrey Katzenberg just, made a fucking post or he did an interview where he was like, AI will make animation 10% the budgets that it currently is, because we'll be laying off all our animators
and cranking out 100 movies a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's like, I think that we should probably save most of this for a bigger discussion, right? But it's like, anytime you're talking about using generative AI to replace the hard work of artists and the human touch of artists, my butthole clenches up. And I'm like, dude, this is not the future I want to live in,
I was going to read this quote. It said, at Xbox, we believe that with better tools, like, better than what? The people who used to do this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With tools we don't have to pay. But I don't know. Neil Stevenson is like interviewing like an AI NPC in this video that I'm watching. And I love Neil Stevenson. He's one of my favorite authors. So I'm kind of torn on this right now. But I mean, this is ultimately a bad thing. The technology is changing every day, and it's getting more and more rapid in a way that is actually quite scary, And
yes.
And I think that it's, I don't know. I think for now, it's going to be really easy for me to look at games that use this kind of generative AI to create assets or characters in it and be like, cool, I'll just avoid that game. And I think a lot of people feel the same right now.
I theoretically want to like the idea of using it as like a filler. Like, I like the idea of studios and like people who are already working on those games using generative AI from like their own previous works for certain scenarios, potentially, because like in the same way that the Beatles did this song, right? Like from
right, but that's not generative
work.
AI. That's isolation technology.
That's not how it's going to be used in the way that we've seen crypto bros using AI already. And when we see announcements like that, that's what a lot of us immediately worry about. And like how y'all are saying, if they don't want to spend money on making games, then I don't want to spend my money on those games. Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, I have some more nuanced takes, but I'll save them for whenever we talk about it, because I don't know that we need a conversation about this.
Give me a cliff note. Give me a cliff note.
Yeah.
I
just don't know. I guess I think the people that are talking about just that this stuff's going to replace everybody and fire everybody, I mean, maybe that'll happen. And I don't want to live in that world either. But I think that's just people talking that don't know what they're talking about. I mean, maybe I think this technology is kind of impressive and scary. But I guess I just don't know that it can be done without a human touch. And I do think that maybe, obviously there's lots of issues. Like, if you're generating stuff from other people's work and stuff like that, that's problematic, right? But I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think it's somewhere more a little gray, and I think it's going to be used regardless. And so, like, guiding us to better uses, and there are probably good use cases for it. And I think it could potentially create some interesting stuff, especially in video games, where interactivity and stuff is limited. That could really open up some things with like characters being able to react in real time. I don't know that we're there yet, and I don't know we'll ever get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that I'm you're right. We should, because now I just want to like debate you. But I like
we opened the door.
Yeah. But it's like as long as there are, which there currently are in the gaming industry, money grubbing, greed mongering executives that will do anything to pinch any penny possible, that will happen at the expense of workers and of the people that are like willing to actually create art for money, right? And so like I think that is like the fear, but you're not wrong. And if we can figure out a way to have artists use those tools to better their own art, then that is kind of the utopian dream of this kind of technology.
Yeah.
Right?
I also think it's kind of up to the consumer to basically look at something and say, okay, yeah, this was clearly made with AI and it doesn't look as good as it does when an actual person makes it, so I'm not going to buy it. I think I think that they're going to do what will make them money. And if maybe they try out the AI thing and it doesn't make them money, then they'll move on from it. But,
Sure.
I don't know.
Right. And I think that's, I think there are maybe certain sectors where we should worry more. And I think like toddler TV is one of them because that shit, that shit is already scary and weird. Like if you ever go down those rabbit holes and people just making shit like that for AI to get little kids addicted, that's kind of scares me. But I don't think your average grown person is going to accept something that's subpar, but I could be wrong.
You'd be fucking surprised, dude. Look at the blue check marks on Twitter, man. They don't give a fuck, man. They're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Twitter's not even like
of course,
an example anymore. Especially
of course
blue
not.
check marks.
Yeah.
They just be tweeting because they get paid to tweet now.
Yeah, essentially. But anyway, I think we should move on. This where the news section is already very chunky, but we'll talk about this in a future episode for sure.
We're gonna move on to the Game Awards. We just got the nominations for all the categories, and David, like you said at the top, we got to start with you. Best video game adaptation, Castlevania Nocturne.
Powerhouse Studios, not David
Howe. Is not named on it, but you were heavily involved. So congratulations. That's really cool to be involved in it.
We're very excited. Yes, to be nominated for best adaptation. That's great. But Game of the Year.
Game of the Year is probably where we should start.
Probably what we should talk about.
I wanted
also, we don't need to go through all the nominees for everything because we'll do a whole episode on this.
Matt will come on and list them out. Yeah. No, but we'll talk about the big ones. Game of the Year: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom are the 6 nominees for Game of the Year. Does anybody have a feeling of what they want to win or what they expect to win on this?
Oh, I did all my voting this morning as soon as this went live.
How you feeling, Summer? Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, I voted for Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's the most likely to win.
I think so. Here's what I said, and I shared these feelings somewhere online today too, in a conversation about just this conversation in general. And I've been having this conversation with a lot of people because I think it's just fun because I personally, I'm in the camp of being torn between Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom. And Tears of the Kingdom was my Game of the Year until Baldur's Gate came out. I'm not exaggerating. Hours into the game, I was like, oh shit, this is it. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from someone who does want to play. I mean, I want to play Alan Wake and Spider-Man. I just don't have the capability right now. I loved Mario. I'm personally just not a Resident Evil person. Mm-hmm. I respect those titles, like for sure. But like my personal is Baldur's Gate. We'll talk more about that later at a later date. But
yeah, I mean, I'm super happy to see Baldur's Gate nominated in like so many categories. And particularly that they're essentially an indie studio.
That was a whole discussion about.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on. Is Baldur's Gate indie? Is Dave the Diver AAA? Like, there's a lot of back and forth online today about it. Those
conversations are really interesting.
But I think it's interesting, that this is almost entirely sequels, or it is entirely sequels if you count Super Mario Bros. Wonder as a sequel. Yeah, mm-hmm. In there. But I am happy to see 2 Nintendo reps in the Game of the Year discussion. I do think Mario Wonder is deserving of Game of the Year nomination. Really, really happy to see that. And and this just adds more fuel to the Alan Wake fire. I can't wait to play Alan Wake 2. Hopefully I can beat Control and Alan Wake 2 by the time the Game of the Year
that's the camp I'm in
actually
too.
come around. But yeah. Right.
Like I want to try to play as much as I can before. Yeah. It makes me want to play more.
Bunch of great stuff in indie games as well. Pizza Tower is nominated for a debut indie game. I'm definitely pulling for that one. What was the family game? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's actually not as many Nintendo games this time. Let me see if I can find it real quickly.
It's Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I was surprised Kirby wasn't in there.
Was
we got
that
the Kirby remake.
Kirby?
The remake, didn't it?
Oh, the remake. Yeah, the Wii one.
Return to Dreamland?
Yeah.
Wasn't that this year?
Oh, right.
It was.
Right. I forgot that was a game. If I'm honest. Yeah, completely forgot that game.
I don't even
existed.
know what Party Animals is. Maybe I do.
It's like it's like a a Fall Guys ish kind of. It's more not Fall. It's not so much Fall Guys. It's more a Gang Beast style game. But I think Mario Wonder is probably
Mario Wonder is going to win that. There's no way it doesn't.
Yeah. Like if Mario Brothers Wonder won something else, then I could see Family Game going to Pikmin 4 because it would be really nice to see Pikmin 4 win something.
That'd be crazy.
I already think Pikmin 4 is going to win strategy. And this is coming from someone who loves Fire
Pikmin,
Emblem.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It does just say Pikmin.
That's on this list, though. That's not the official one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I went through and voted today, so I know that Pikmin 4
Pikmin
got
4.
a nomination for Best Strategy Game up against Fire Emblem Engage, which that was the only category it got nominated for, and that's okay.
Let's get real.
It's interesting to me that Mario Bros. Wonder was nominated for Best Multiplayer Game.
Oh, it cannot win that.
I haven't played Wonder yet. I really, really want to. I just haven't been able to get it yet. But it seems like nobody is like, oh yeah, I'm playing it for the multiplayer.
No. It makes it harder and frustrating.
Yep. Multiplayer. It's so interesting that there weren't any like really like multiplayer games that came out this year. Like I feel like that's got to go to either Street Fighter or Baldur's Gate.
I think Party Animals might win it. Actually, Party Animals is very, very popular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Guess I got to play Party Animals. When are we playing Party Animals?
I don't know.
Who's organizing that?
I've got too many fucking games to play, man.
It got nominated. We have to play it. Okay.
Dude, if I played every game that was nominated at the Game Awards, oh my God, that would be insane. I would not be able to do that. Yeah.
Well, anything else on the Game Awards?
Not for now.
This one will hit real quickly because I'm sure it will be at the Game Awards, and that's that we got some news that Rockstar is going to be giving us a Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer in December, which probably lines up to be at the Game Awards.
Right. As soon as they said that, I was like, oh, it's going to be at the Game Awards.
We'll see. They definitely don't need it. I could also
to.
just see them dropping it on Twitter like
before.
Before.
And then
around.
having it. Yeah, again.
Yeah.
I could also see Jeff Keighley paying for it. He wants it to be his exclusive.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of a non-news item.
There is one more thing on the Game Awards. I did tweet at Jeff Keighley, and his silence was deafening. He did not respond to me.
What'd you say?
I was just like, hey, Jeff, can we please have a fucking dress code at this Game Awards coming up? The blazer over the jeans and t-shirt look is the lowest effort way to appear to be classy. All right? How fun would it be if you made everybody rent a tux and a fancy dress? To which I heard no response, which I think is very cowardly.
Is you doing that meant to parody all of the people who have been actually like reaching out to Jeff Keighley to try to say like, we need you to say something about all the layoffs this year?
No. I just want people to dress fancy.
I disagree.
I want it to be a black tie event. I think it would be fucking hilarious.
You know, tickets for the Game Awards are less than $100 a seat. And when I saw that, I was like,
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
What if we all... Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Oh, boy. Well, we'll move on to our last news item, which is Super Mario RPG. It's coming out. The remake is coming out this week. Holy cow. Friday the 17th, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But also, everybody beware, because I don't know. It's a remake, so I don't know if this really matters, but the game is leaked online. But if you've never played it, or you want to not be spoiled by the changes or the new, art and stuff, every game now leaks, I guess. It's happened again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
man, the only thing I can think of when anybody says Super Mario RPG is Super Mario RPG. Sonic the Hedgehog, Donkey Kong 3, Adventures of Lolo 1 and 2. You don't know this, Patrick?
Wednesday night on Wii Shop.
Yeah.
It's We Shop on a Wednesday night. Yeah, We Shop Wednesdays. Sorry, I got it.
Doug,
I got you.
Foo. Harvest Moon. All right, sorry, I'll stop.
I'm impressed you know that much of it.
I know the whole thing. I sing it all the time. League Puzzle Pokemon.
If this episode
Mineral and Planet on Funkotron.
We are off the rails and we're never coming back. But we are going to be taking a short break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We are back, and this week we are talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the
Prison USA.
final booster course pass. Wave 6 came out, and they put out some patches and a couple little extra things in that. And now we can think about the DLC as a whole and the game as a whole. So we'll talk a little bit about all that in the future of Mario Kart. But first, we're going to start with this most recent wave and the update that we got. How are we feeling so far about Wave 6? These 8 tracks and characters and so on. Summer? Pauline?
Well, if I was going to say, how dare you say her name before I get a chance to? That's all I want to talk about is the other problem. So unless you want me to go ahead and start talking about, okay, so Pauline when she drives a car, she's in her dress, but when she's on a bike, she got a really unique suit. Now Peachette also got a really unique suit. She looks like a magical girl. I might play as her a little bit too, just because she's so cute as well. But Pauline is so sassy. Her horn sounds like the beginning of the original Donkey Kong music, which I adore. When she lands a boost jump, sometimes she whips out her microphone, and sometimes stage lights come out and go on her. And then when she does a long extended jump, she sings "Jump Up Superstar." And if you're near her, you can hear her, but I hear her all the time because I'm playing as her from now on.
Are you happy that you prompted this, Patrick?
Yes, we got it. We got it done. We were going to do it at some point.
I was going to have to get it all out of my system at some point. I'm obsessed with. I'm so happy they put Pauline in the game.
Let's start with the characters since we're talking about Pauline, and you mentioned Peachette, which is weird, but Peachette's there.
I don't David's going to talk about the Kongs, so I got to talk about.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Kongs and the controversial Funky Kong voices. I don't know.
Is it controversial?
I've just heard a lot of people say
they
hate Funky Kong's voice.
Oh, I like him. I think he sounds like a really cool guy,
especially when he
funky.
uses the mushroom, I think it is, and gets a boost. It's a weird noise.
Yeah.
Well,
weird.
If it sounds like what David just did, then that's
no,
normal.
it's not that. That's not when he uses the mushroom. That's
You're wrong, David.
I don't know. I haven't memorized Funky Kong's voice clips.
Well, you're not playing as him, right?
I play as him every once in a while. I did like once or twice. But yeah, I mean, Funky is great. I'm glad to see him. I don't give a fuck what he sounds like. I just like looking at. I love watching him. I love that the camera's behind him because I love watching him drive away. I'm like looking at his ass. Is what I'm saying.
And he hops up on the surfboard.
You understand why I play as Pauline.
But and then Diddy is another amazing addition. I think Hans, you were playing as Diddy the other night, correct? Yeah, we all played. For listeners, just so you know, we all played together online the other night. We had a blast.
Yeah,
it was a very long session of playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, the new characters are great. There are others as well, but those are the only ones I really care about. We got a ton of Mii racer outfits, which is great. I've been kind of like jumping back and forth between the Birdo outfit and there's a cow that you can be from Moo Moo Farms. That when you do a trick, you like shake your ass at the camera, which is really funny.
Wait.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of really silly stuff in there. It's a lot of stuff from Mario Kart Tour. I mean, I think there are still like 50 or something like Mii costumes that didn't make it over from Tour, but they picked a lot of them and put them in this pack. So that's really cool to see.
How about the tracks? These 8 new tracks. We got a couple city ones, of course.
Yeah, what do you think, Hans? What are some of your favorites?
I only played it. Basically, I only played it last night. The Mario Kart game that I remember playing the most, like, when I was younger, was the Mario Kart Wii. So I really like the Wii Rainbow Road, and I like the DK Mountain. Was that this one?
Yeah, DK Mountain is this one.
I like that one too. So, and I obviously I really like playing as Diddy. I just like Diddy as a character. So
nice. Anybody else on the new tracks?
Yeah, I mean, there's it's a good drop. It's not my favorite drop. I think it's not even my favorite drop from like this year, right? But I think something that we'll kind of talk about in terms of this is like, it's okay that this wasn't like the best drop of courses because this was 8 of 48 that we got, so it's like really not a huge deal, right? But I thought, Rainbow Road is awesome. I think Madrid Drive is a lot of fun as a city course. We were talking at the end. You briefly go inside a soccer or football stadium.
Rocket
League.
I'm sorry, Rocket League.
You play
Rocket League. It's very Rocket League all of a sudden, with giant soccer balls being thrown around and being kicked around by Goombas in shoes, like they're in Mario Brothers 3, which is fucking awesome. Like you were saying, Hans, DK Mountain feels great to play. It's wonderful to have it back in this game. What were some of your favorites, Patrick?
That's a good question. I don't think the city ones this time really did it for me. I mean, they're fine. What else was there?
I mean, there's Rome Avanti. That's another city one. We got
There's the eel one, right?
Yeah, and that's a new one.
Piranha Plant Cove is that one, and that one's fucking fantastic. That was a tour course as well, but it really got to glow up in Mario Kart 8.
You know, I don't feel like I've played that one enough to talk about it. I don't think that came up when we were playing online. So I've played through both of these Grand Prix once, and then I played online with y'all, and we were kind of going all over the place with all the DLC, which is great. But I do have to say that I like the Bowser's Castle 3 a lot.
Oh yeah,
I have a deep appreciation for it. I feel like it's so, because the idea that, you know, it was for the SNES, and that means that they basically had to completely remake it.
Yeah, they didn't go for a simple.
Right. It's not like some of the other SNES tracks where they like still have all of the blocks in there. Like they really like built this to look like one of the modern Bowser Castle tracks, and I love it.
Yeah, this one kind of feels like the actual final track of the game. You know what I mean? Because it's like Rainbow Road is Rainbow Road pretty much as I remember it. You know what I mean? But this feels like a new track while also being like a castle track, which is like were the boss tracks of the original game, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they did a wonderful job with this, and it's got the area where you kind of like have to take the turn, and then you can ride up on the little, I don't even know what you would call those, like the walls, and it gives you like 2 boosts if you make it up there, and 2 item boxes, and it's it's just like a super risk reward stage. I really enjoy that one quite a bit. Yeah,
there's some crazy I don't know, just details in that one, and ramps, and it's wild. So like you said, David, I don't know if I feel like the tracks on this one, I don't think they're bad at all. I think they're good. I'm not ready to necessarily get into the whole discussion, but I think like the sum of the parts of all of these is greater than the individual waves, kind of, to me. And I think that's what I really felt when we were playing it last night. But we can stay focused on this final wave for a little bit longer if there's anything else, because there's like the music player they added.
Well, before we move on from there's only one we haven't mentioned, which
Daisy
is
Circuit.
Wii Daisy Circuit. Yeah. I mean, which is my least favorite out of all of these. So
it's like golden hour. That's the best part of it, right? We all
it's
gamers discovering the sun.
It's pretty, but it's like I don't really like the lines on that one as much, and it's just not quite as fun for me to play, I think. Kind of same with Rosalina's Ice Secret or Ice World.
You just don't like ice ones, though.
No, I mean I like some ice ones. I like Snowland
That's a good one.
A lot. But I don't know. This one just kind of like, I mean, you're not wrong. I don't like most ice ones. But yeah, I think overall it's a decent job. I just wanted to make sure we actually gave lip service to all of them.
Yeah. Well, I think also we were talking about this last night, and you were right, David. You know, they patched, they balanced various things, right? Like we were kind of talking about how some of the DLC courses got modified a little bit, but then we were also talking about item rate increasing or shortening or whatever, the time between when one person gets an item and somebody else can get one. And they had already shortened it in a previous one, but they shortened it again. You're right. That is in the patch notes. And I noticed it when we were playing too, because I think I was like following right behind somebody. And like, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get it. Oh, I got an item.
It's like a quarter of a second now. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a way to miss it. Yeah, it probably is, but like, it's like, you have to be right behind the person. I mean, I feel like I was. So, and I liked what your sister Jen said, which is like, they're just up in the chaos a little bit, right? Like we're used to the chaos. So now there's more. There's with the random, or not the random, the like item selection
Custom
thing?
items.
Yes, custom. Thank you, Hans, which was obviously added a few waves back, but just great.
That's
thing.
like my favorite.
Yeah.
I love that ability to do that. I think that doing blue shell horns was fun. I'd done that with some friends before, and it's just such a wild way to play the game.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe most of like the big changes that they at least told us about that we know about in terms of I think they there was some, I never actually experienced anybody doing this, but people that would kind of sandbag and sit on an item and get 2 really good items at the end. You can't do that anymore. If you sit on an item spot, it gives you like a crummy item now for your second item. That's kind of cool that they have paid attention to stuff like that.
Yeah, that was like a bit of the meta that a lot of people had issue with. They added some other stuff. Like you briefly talked about the music. They added a music screen to the beginning, which, there's a lot of amazing music in this game and in the DLC tracks. So that's really great to see. They did add a code to be able to join people that aren't on your friends list, right? I think a lot of Nintendo games do this now, where you have like a room code specifically for what you're in. So that's great for like streamers and people that want to play with people and don't want to have a bunch of randos fill up their friends list.
Just to like with streaming, like not having to pop in and out constantly to your, it's not that I don't want to be friends with you. I just don't want to stop playing right now, like, so they can jump in without me having to go and add you as a friend. Like you can jump in without me having to stop playing.
Or other online communities, like if you're on a message board or a Discord server where you want to be like, hey, here's a code, come join me. Like, it's great.
Yeah. Did you ever want to tell me that you're nervous but not be my friend? Like, here's your opportunity.
The barrier is lessened, but that way, yeah.
I'm using tilt controls too.
Yeah, well, that's your prerogative.
I think it's wild that some of this stuff is coming now. Like, it's great. It's just weird a little bit, like, which is something I want to maybe talk about at the end. It's just like this whole DLC is a little bit weird. I think it's great and I'm all for it and I'm loving it. And it brings you back to the game. It's also something we could have maybe talked about more when we did our live services game because this game kind of has felt like a live service game with this cadence over the last year of like
that's what you were saying, right, Hans?
I literally was talking to David about that while he was streaming a couple weeks back. That it does feel like that because it's almost a 10-year-old game, but they're still, now it's over, but they were still supporting it with, regular DLC. It does feel a lot like what some live service games do, but not in a way that is bad. It's actually really cool, but
yeah. I don't know. This feels much less like live service, and this is what I said to you on the stream, Hans. But it's like this feels less like live service to me, and more like these are just expansions. This is good old fashioned. Like you would get an expansion for like Morrowind or something with like a story expansion or but it's just extra tracks. This is just like DLC to me, right? But I do see, we don't have to get back into the debate on like what is a live service game in this episode.
Like, but would you not say that that's a service?
Yeah, exactly.
And defining service.
I'm not do not tempt me with this debate. But
AI.
But no, either way, the end result is this like drip feeding of content like over the course of a long time, which has been, I think, good. Now it's just not feasible to expect them to just make 48 tracks like right away and drop them all at once. And I'm glad to have gotten them every few months over the course of 2 years than to wait even longer for any new Mario Kart thing to come out. Right. And I think that this is like the only game they could ever really do something like this with. Like a game that they know has sold 50 million copies. And like, there is a hunger for just more with this game. And like, I was saying that like way before the Booster Course Pass was ever announced, was like, people were like, when are they going to make a new Mario Kart? When are they going to make a new Mario Kart? And I was like, I don't think they should, I just want like, I think Mario Kart 8 is like the best Mario Kart ever made, bar none. It feels the best. The online is the best. Like it just has the best items. It has like the most characters. They should just keep making courses for it. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm so happy with it. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind if they kept doing
Yeah.
this, man. Like, I know people at this point would be like, oh my God, let's move on. But I recently watched Game Explain put out a video, which was everything missing in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And there are 50 courses at least that are not in this game that could be remade. A lot of them are in Mario Kart Tour. There's a Mario Kart Tour track that was made original for that game that didn't make it in this game. It's Piranha Plant something. It's another Piranha Plant thing, I think. But it's like, but then there's like tons of Super Circuit tracks. There's tons of like SNES tracks. There's a ton of N64 tracks that didn't make it in, right? And it's like, I would be more than happy if they did a Booster Course Pass 2 and just did the next 2 years releasing all these other tracks and just made this the ultimate Mario Kart game. Like, I would have no problem with that personally, but I am curious what you guys think on if you'd rather see a sequel or if you want to see them continue to do stuff like this for this game going forward. Because if they do that, then this is a fucking game as a service. You know, this is a forever game, you know?
I don't know what I want, but I more think there's just watching this unfold and made me wonder if this isn't a test or for Mario Kart 9 or 10 or whatever they call the next one, because maybe they're like, what if we release a game with, I don't know, 12 tracks and then every 2 months add to it for as long as it makes sense to, you know what I mean? Like, to keep people invested and keep selling copies and stuff. I could see this being a formula that they use even if it's a different game.
Dude, are they going to just call that? Are they going to do the thing where the next game is just called Super Mario Kart? Like, because it's on the Super Switch, they'll call it Super Mario Kart.
Oh,
Infinite.
They'll take away the number, right? Because it would be, or it could be Mario Kart X or whatever, because it will be the 10th Mario Kart if you count Mario Kart Tour as Mario Kart 9, which I think you should.
No, it makes sense because, I mean, they didn't used to always number them. Like,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think if they just called it Super Mario Kart, which is what they do, like Tomb Raider, you know, or like whatever, you know,
eventually it all comes back to the original.
Yeah. Yeah. You just take the thing off and it's like just the platform, you know? What if
it's possible
they do it like, I mean, if we're talking really like this live service thing, I could even see it being a free game and you just pay for track packs, you know, like
cosmetics.
Yeah.
Like Overwatch 2. So if you already own Mario Kart 8, you get everything that's already in, and then you
well, that's what
Rocket League did too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is that if we're getting ahead of ourselves, maybe, but like maybe not. Maybe this is where the more interesting conversation is. If the Super Switch is backwards compatible and Mario Kart 8 has this big install base, do they just do that? Do they just keep adding content and want people to be subscribed to whatever higher tiers? Yeah,
I can't
upgrade the Switch.
Yeah. I do think I can see it much more being an upgrade thing than them just releasing another DLC, even though I would be totally fine with that. I think that people are clamoring for something a little bit more fresh, right?
Yeah.
But whatever they do, I can see them they've now got this huge cachet of almost 100 fucking tracks that are modern. They feel modern still. They feel that graphics are still really good, even now that this game is almost 10 years old. You know, like, I think that if the next, Switch is backwards compatible, it would make sense to build it in the same engine, to move a lot of this stuff over. I think that's kind of what they were laying a bit of the groundwork for in Mario Kart Tour, and why they moved a bunch of those courses over to the Switch.
Yeah. It's hard not to want to talk about the future, and I think we should continue for a minute, because I'm also like, I think the to flip all this and to say that's, to take the other position, I think that the other thing they might do, and this is similar to the Smash discussion, right? Which is like, how do you follow up this game that has this many characters and this many tracks and now that is to
Fire Emblem.
Is to
Summer, get out of here.
Put Fire Emblem characters in Mario Kart.
Well, is to maybe, I mean, if they don't expand on it and just or take the same approach, then maybe it's to have a really tightly defined roster and courses and stuff with some some, just something, either a new gimmick or just really like it feels new and fresh just because it's, a smaller kind of package with all new content, if that makes sense. And I don't know what that would be. It's really tough.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 was for the Wii U. It was anti-grav. It was a very small roster of characters. It was just base level things, Didn't even have fucking...
The anti-grav was the new thing.
Yeah, it didn't even have battle stages.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8, originally.
Geez.
I remember battling on fucking tracks. It was awful.
Yeah.
The last like three have had their own gimmicks, right? Like Wii, I guess, was motion, and then Double Dash was that there are like 2 characters on one card. Is that right?
Mhm.
I feel like they probably would want to add some new mechanic, because like now anti-grav doesn't feel like it doesn't even. It almost doesn't feel like a mechanic anymore
It's been
because we're
10
just all
years.
used to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they are going to do something, it'd probably be introducing some new mechanic or
Yeah.
gimmick.
Well, they even did it with Deluxe too, with like adding the double item boxes to the original Mario Kart 8, which did not have double item boxes, right? So it's like, so they've shown that they can pigeonhole, or not pigeonhole, they can wedge in new mechanics into the tracks that already existed exactly how they were, and it worked just fine. They also did that with 200cc. 200cc was not in the game originally. They just added it in, and yeah, some of the tracks were fucking broken, but that's kind of like what made it fun, So I think that like they could do a new Mario Kart game, have some kind of new gimmick to how it works, and still bring these courses back and probably have it work just fine. But at that point, like, do we really want a Mario Kart game with 150 tracks in it? Like, is that saturating? Like, are you ever going to get the track that you want online? If you're playing with 150 tracks, like, I don't know. I don't know. I know this is like, we're like salivating for it right now, but is that like, are we just like the kid that wants the candy in the store that he shouldn't have? Like,
yeah,
I'm not. I am the kind of person that would rather, like, I do think that more is not always better. Like, I would rather them have, a new mechanic that they build specific tracks for that is really cool, like feels really new and fresh, than if they just like, even if they do it cleanly, if they just staple a new mechanic on all of these old tracks and then add, 20 new tracks or whatever, then it's like, I don't know. I feel like it would be too much. At least that's my opinion on it.
I guess I feel like regardless of what they do, I think that the next Mario Kart or the continuation is gonna have some sense of regular updates. Whether it's small things, whether it's a long time or short time, I just think that this has worked for them to keep Mario Kart in the news, in the zeitgeist, and I don't think they're going to give that up.
Well, they kind of did this to replace Smash Fighter announcements, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was like having some sort of cadence for Nintendo fans to get excited for. I feel like that was kind of why part of why they did this to begin with, right? To have a staple for every direct that you could look forward to,
And I think to push people to the higher tier of the NSO, because they looked at their list of what's our top selling games, how can we push people to this high tier? Animal Crossing DLC, this DLC. Yeah,
and I would love to see the numbers on how many people actually bought the Mario Kart 8 DLC and how many just get it through NSO, right?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because if it's super weighted to NSO,
There's
I
no
could just
way
see Mario Kart being an NSO game exclusively, going forward. And it's just like, you want to play Mario Kart online, it comes with our subscription service. You know what I mean? And like, I could see that happening. And then that's really when it becomes game as a service, right? Is like, man.
If it's tied to it, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
locked to it, rather.
What they're putting so much emphasis on Nintendo accounts going forward, what if this is kind of what they're moving towards?
Well, we talked a lot about the future, but maybe we can back up for a minute and just talk about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in its current form. Because I think I don't know that we've had enough time to really properly absorb it, maybe, but like because I've only had the experience now of kind of like, oh, I want to play through all the new tracks, and then we all got together as a big group and played a bunch. But that was so fun that I really want to do it more.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to play it again while we're talking about it. Always.
And I think this whole package, you know, if we keep playing it, maybe I'll get over the DLC a little bit and kind of want to mix and match some of the old tracks. But right now I'm kind of obsessed with the DLC. But I just think it's a great game. I mean, I have my quibbles. I wish there was more battle stages. I've said that 10 times on this podcast with all these updates. But I mean, in terms of just the racing, it's amazing. To have 96 courses, like you said, David, it almost gets to be too much. Like, but I don't think it is yet, you know, too much. It's right on that line, maybe, of like where you can't, you know.
This is coming from a guy who used to play Smash competitively online, where you had to know the counters for like 84 characters.
Yeah.
Right. So like, yeah, 96 courses is nothing to for you.
Well, that's a great point. I really do think, like, I understand what you're saying, Hans, earlier about like how, you know, more isn't necessarily always better. But I think in the case of Smash and Mario Kart, it is, you know. I think like, I think that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe already was one of the best games of all time. You know what I mean? Not best racing games, not best Mario Kart games. Like, it is truly one of the greatest games of all time. You know, it's like, I think it's one of the most accessible games for like the majority of people that ever would want to play a video game. Everyone knows what it is. And then they just stepped up to the fucking plate and brought it on every single level. This game was already fantastic. And then they just doubled the size of it. And it was like effortless, you know, like, yeah, some of the courses look like phone game courses, you know what I mean? Like, especially early on, some of the DLC was a little rough looking, right? But at the end of the day, like, I don't fucking care, you know, like, I don't care that they didn't add more battle courses. I never play the fucking battle mode. I just like to race around and go vroom, vroom, vroom on a course, you know? So I do think you're right, Patrick. There hasn't really been enough time, but every once in a while, I kind of take a step back and just look at the beautiful gift we've been given with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and just like bask in its majesty. It's like crazy that this game exists. Like, can you imagine playing Super Mario Kart for the SNES and then like someone comes from the future and like shows you this game? Like, it would blow your fucking mind. You know? Like, it's just crazy we even got to this point.
I was reading some comments on like a review of this most recent wave, and people were talking about like, you know, you review these waves individually, but can we look at the game as a whole? And I think it really is, this DLC is a case. I think I said this earlier, of, you know, the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. Like, each wave, there were some better ones and some worse ones, but now that we have them all and you have that whole second page of courses, and when I look at that, and I'm like, man, I really like a lot of these. Or, you know, a handful I really like, and then I enjoy most of them or whatever. But I still feel like there's a lot to discover. Like, when we were playing the other night, I found some path I'd never taken, you know what I mean? On one of these, like, it's just great. And I really like the city tracks idea of them, and this sort of, I know some people don't, this like 3 different paths each time. I think that's cool. I think it's maybe not always implemented in a way that doesn't throw me off, and I have to really learn those tracks. But I think that's a kind of a cool new thing that this brought. Like, that's not existent in a lot of the other, or at all, you know? So there's some fresh things in it too. It's
pretty unique to this DLC, you know, because it's like, that's not like a Mario Kart Tour thing. Like, Mario Kart Tour had it where each variant was its own level, you know. Gotcha. Like, there were 4 Rome Avanti courses, you know, Route 1, Route 2, Route 3, and reverse, right? For like pretty much all of them, right? Like, Paris Promenade is a good example of that, because you go backwards on Paris Promenade in like the last lap. So what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did was, well, we don't want to bring in 4 tracks for every city track, so we'll just combine them all into one big track. So they kind of like adapted them into this new style, right? So that's a cool thing. It's not necessarily something that I want to see a new Mario Kart game or like a sequel to this game focus on. Like, I don't want that to be the gimmick of the next
I
Mario
was
Kart
just gonna
game.
say,
I think
that
that's
sounds
the
like
gimmick.
the gimmick of the DLC.
That's the gimmick of the DLC. You know, that's the gimmick of the booster course pass, which maybe the booster course pass is Mario Kart 10. Who knows?
I think like Ninja Hideaway is a great example. It doesn't exactly do that, right? But it kind of does it with like there's multiple paths and they're not like locked off each time. But like I really enjoy that one as an example too of what I think the DLC does a little differently. I just think this and the detail, like you said, on some of the levels they don't, or some of the courses don't look as great, especially the early ones. But man, some of them look fantastic. Yoshi's Island, and the details on some of the other ones, like even if we were kind of shitting on it, the bathroom one, like just the level of polish.
I like the bathroom.
Shitting in the bathroom.
There's a toilet.
Wow.
I feel like we were doing a bit with the bathroom one. But
What are y'all's like favorite course in the whole game in Super Mario Bros? It was Super Mario Kart. Wait, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
well, I made a tier list that I posted in our Discord.
Well, if you had seen my
No, that's not.
No, I was gonna say that you made that too because that's cool. I think it's fun that you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I made one before with like the first 48 courses, and I just thought it'd be funny to make one with 96 things on it. But I mean, I've got I don't think I could pick a favorite, but I still pretty much have the same S tier ones, or on this they're SS tier ones that were like from the original game, even before the DLC. And I'll just say real quick, those are N64 Royal Raceway, SNES Rainbow Road, GBA Ribbon Road, Electrodome, N64 Yoshi's Valley, and GCN Dry Desert. Those are like my goated tracks. Those are like the ones that anytime those come up in a rotation, I'll pick those.
I don't know if I know. There's too many for me to do this, but I'm gonna pull up David's list here just so we can show it on the podcast. Man, I don't know. Summer, do you have a favorite or a top few?
Yeah, I the bias in being ranked for the time trials in Sky High Sunday. I really like Sky High Sunday. I'm just good because I'm good at it, and that's what we gravitate towards being our favorites, right?
That's
or the
true.
ones that
those
like,
are. Yeah, that's why
just
those are my favorites.
right?
Yeah.
Like the ones that just click for us, and you figure out the lines really well. So Sky High Sunday. And it was so funny because I was like, I love this track. I should try doing the time trials. And then immediately ranked and then saw a friend of mine in the ranked and had to call him up and be like, so I just got right behind your ranking in Sky High Sunday. Nice. That's something I forget about, that you can check the online rankings for
I want to do
time
that more now.
Trials. Yeah. But just the care and attention that went into all of the other game tracks. So even though it's not from the DLC, I've always loved the Animal Crossing track because it cycles through all 4 seasons, and all of the sound effects that go along in that track. I feel the same way about Hyrule Castle. A little oh man, we didn't get like an Inkopolis track though, did we?
There's one in
just
the
a battle
stages.
See, that doesn't mean anything.
I see it a lot.
Darn. But yeah, and so the Yoshi's Island one I love as well. Just because like of all of the care and attention that went into those tracks specifically to really engineer them to feel like those other games. I like those tracks for those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the 3DS Rainbow Road. I think that one's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I just love that one. And I really like the F-Zero ones and Music Park. I like a lot too.
Yeah.
Music
Park's fun.
It's pretty amazing that we got F-Zero tracks in this game at all.
But where is Captain Falcon?
Yeah. Well, you could dress up as him as your Mii costume.
That's
and,
true.
And you can also drive his car, can't you?
Yeah, you can drive his little car. But yeah, I mean, like for a while, this is the closest thing anybody got to a new F-Zero game until F-Zero 99 came out. And that was DLC for Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know that it's hard for me to think of favorite tracks in the game as a whole because the base game of Deluxe, I still like. haven't touched in a while, but like I love Snowland from the DLC. I think it's one
really
of my
good.
favorites. I also like Merry Mountain a lot.
Ooh, yeah.
I kind of like the ones where you go up and then go back down. There's a couple.
Do you like
Yes.
do you like Boo Lake? You go up and down in that one.
I don't think I've played it enough to have a strong opinion about it.
Yeah.
Where do you have that? You have it pretty low.
I think I do have it pretty low, which I think is actually not super fair. I think I like made this really fast.
Yeah,
I didn't like think really long and hard about it, but it's like Boo Lake is pretty good.
Yeah, I like Boo Lake, but I have a bias for all the Game Boy Advance tracks because I think that was my first Mario Kart.
Yeah. Also, Boo Lake being low is still a C tier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like I think that's something that's like kind of
passes.
good about this game is that there's only like a few stages that I hate. You know what I mean? Like I hate Super Bowl Sunday, Toad's Turnpike, Cheeseland, Bone Dried Dunes, like those stages, like I really fucking hate them. And I just like can't get good at them.
That's funny.
Some of the city courses are really not very fun, you know. But
having a kid, especially when he was younger, kids love cars, or boys especially, or traditionally, right? But like, so Super Bowl Subway, Toad's Turnpike, those are levels that he'd pick every time, and we'd play the crap out of them. So I actually don't even mind them because I think I just got so used to playing on them.
I love when I was a kid. I loved Toad's Turnpike on N64 for I think the same reason. It was like, hey, it's like I'm on the real road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know
that's
what
it
I mean?
is. Like the fact there's cars there makes it.
Yeah,
and he was like
But
disappointed
now,
when Coconut Mall had cars, but they weren't moving. He's like, why aren't they moving? You know, like
they move now. They do weird little loop-de-loops.
Yeah, that
Like
was
do
an update.
donuts. Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. I wonder what it is about this franchise that makes it so universally beloved. You know, it's like,
I'll take a shot at
what? Yeah. Do you think you know?
I don't know, but I think there's a couple of things that contribute to it. I think the IP of Mario is as the movie kind of proved, right? Like is
but
well
it's just like
known.
interesting that it sells more than a Mario proper game does. You know?
Yeah.
I think the rubber banding is really big. The like when you're playing 50cc with your friends at any level, you know, there's a chance that somebody could win, right? I think that's really important, and that's why they're never gonna make a super competitive Mario Kart. Like it is very at a high level. Obviously, like when your sister or your brother play, David, or even you'd beat the shit out of me like all the time. But like, you know, when you get down to like a bunch of kids playing, everybody's got a shot at it, even if it's less often. I think that's big. I think those two things are really big. And then it kind of just probably built on itself, right? Like, I mean, I think Super Mario Kart, I was there when I was a kid. It was huge, man. I mean, like that's so big that I like in college and stuff, people were still playing it, you know? So I think that it just had that cultural grab, and then it's got the casual nature of it, right? But I'm sure there's probably also some magic sauce that I'm not mentioning, right? Or other factors as well. Is there anything that you can think of?
I think racing games just in general people gravitate towards, and then this is like one of the more just like accessible and fun and not taking itself very seriously racing games. And then also if you just look at like multiplayer games on Switch, like there's pretty much the two that people talk about are this and Smash. And at least in my experience, Smash is way less fun when you have varying skill level players than this is, because you can still have fun even if one person is going to be way out in front. You can still have fun playing it because you're still like in a race. But if you're in Smash, you just feel like you don't get to do anything if you're getting beaten by it. So I think it's a really good multiplayer game. I think it's probably the best for casual people on the Switch, just like local multiplayer. I think people value that a lot.
Yeah.
Just items, I guess, right? It's just like throwing bananas around is funny. And people like bananas. They like potassium. and they like to slip around. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's funny. It's like you don't like when you think of Nintendo, you don't think of them as like a company who makes racing games. You know what I mean? But it's like by far and away their biggest seller of every system is always a racing game. You know,
But-
and it's just like, yeah, it just feels like its own thing more than it fits into any genre in a way.
But if you think about racing games, like, I don't know, there aren't any other racing games that are like casually fun like that, at least that are as popular as it right now.
Right.
I mean, there are some, but you know, if you think of like the popular racing games, it's like the racing simulators
They're the
or Mario
serious
Kart.
ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
high skill level versus this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Fascinating stuff to think about.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on? It's tough. Like, I guess we'll wrap it up. There's like a lot we could say, but you know, if you're out there, you know, listening, and we'd love to know what's your favorite track. What makes Mario Kart special? Anything we talked about? You know,
Yeah, share with us your favorite Mario Kart memories in the comments of this episode.
Yeah, and what you want them to do in the future, whether it's, you know, keep Mario Kart 8 Deluxe alive. Was that what they would call it?
Mario Kart XXX.
But that's gonna do it for our discussion on the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you know, the current state after the booster course pass. And we're gonna take another short break, and when we come back, we're gonna be talking about the games we've been playing recently. Here's the moment that David's gonna be really happy about. David, you were right.
You're a Picross fan.
No. I've been playing more WarioWare Move It, and I think I still have like something to say here, but like David's jamming out.
Vindicated! I am selfish! I am wrong!
All you got to do is cyberbully some people, and they will
And they will like
to
your
your way
game.
of thinking. Yeah.
I think WarioWare Move It is a fascinating game that I wish we could do the episode over. Like I wish or do a second episode about it. Like,
Wow.
because I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it before, but I had only played, you know, a few days of it. And now like I've played a lot of it with my kid, and I have gotten to the point where I don't, you know, I mess up occasionally, and there are certain times where you mess up, but I've kind of figured it out based on our discussion of how important it is.
It's not this, it's this.
Of how important every little detail is. And I still think that's a game design issue, but it's not necessarily like as janky as your initial impression might be. I think there's a problem there. And the problem is accessibility, is like communicating to your player. But I think it's a wonderful game, and it doesn't have the problems I thought maybe initially. Because I think I said it in the episode, which is like, I think this is the best WarioWare I've ever played, but it's also the most frustrating and weird at times. But I think you just have to like exactly do what they're doing. And there are times where I mirror what they're doing instead of or you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just weird. And I think from a design perspective, they kind of had to do it that way, but it's problematic, right? Like and it's maybe created a problem for the game, and that several reviewers had problems and talked about it, and that turned people off from the game. And a lot of people, I think, are going to have that initial reaction because I don't know how the game could do a better job of explaining to you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird.
Yeah, it's like it's not. It is a game that wants to make the controls be as
exact,
specific and exact as possible. And if you don't like that, then there's another game that's better, and that's WarioWare Smooth Moves for the Wii, right? This is the evolution of that game. Like, I think a big part of that is like WarioWare Smooth Moves, you get in the form and you would stay in that form. In this game, you get into the form and that's your starting position. You know what I mean? Like, you can move around, you can be more exact. It uses every part of the buffalo, and as far as the like motion controls, like on the Switch are concerned, you know, like it really uses the exact like nature of it to its advantage.
Part 2 is here now, actually.
And it's really important that you have them set right. And I think that's where I was like, the Wiimote was better when I said that. I think it's because there was the bar, right? And so it knew where the Wiimote was at all times. And so it didn't matter. You in between things, you could be doing this and this, but in between on WarioWare, you better fucking get it attention. Or
Yeah, that is the
one.
calibration.
Right.
The form is you calibrating the controller.
And I think that because it's a fast-paced game, naturally, especially people who are maybe having a more difficult time or who are fidgety, like my kid or whatever, like there are many times where he's like, I'm doing the thing. And I'm like, I'm watching you do the thing, but it's not doing the thing, probably because you didn't calibrate it right, because you didn't get into the right position. And that can be frustrating. And I think it's a problem with the game that I don't know how you overcome. But I think that it limits who can play this game. It limits, people's opinions about the game. But I think it's a fantastic WarioWare game, and I've really enjoyed it. So
it's maybe one of the best WarioWare games.
Getting over that hump, I'm now over it, and I'm trying to convince my wife to play it with me, because I think she will actually nail it.
Well, here's what you do: is you play through the story with the person that you know what I mean. Like just play through the story again, right? Like with your wife, so it's like they can learn all of the forms at the slow pace, because they really take a long time. It's like you're on that screen for a while. You know what I mean? Like it's like
when they discuss it. You know what I mean? The lore of it.
Yeah. And they have the fucking stanza that slowly appears on the screen or whatever.
Yeah.
But.
Okay, I'm sorry we did turn this into WarioWare Part 2. But I just want to say, David, you win.
Thank you.
And then I don't know, I played some Splatoon 3. There was a great Grisco weapons rotation. Played some Mario Wonder with my family. We're chipping away at it. My wife this has happened before. She really wanted to get Fae Farm. So she's been playing Fae Farm, and I've been helping her. It's pretty new. I don't know if it's going to stick or not. I bought her Stardew Valley because her friends were talking about it, and then she didn't like it. And she was like, one of our friends was talking about this, and she's like, well, maybe I'll like it. And I'm like, I'm not buying it for you. But she bought it for herself. So
I've heard Fae Farm is great.
It's all right. The fishing is atrocious. That's the main problem I've had with it. They have easy fishing and regular fishing, and she was having a real hard time fishing. And so I took it, and I'm like, yeah, this is weird. And I switched it between easy and regular, and I could not figure out the difference. It felt the same. So that was one hiccup, but it looks cute, and we'll see if she sticks with it and how much, if it becomes a thing in our house or not, but stay tuned for that. That's me. Somebody else go.
Yeah, I'll go. I've also been playing more WarioWare. I played a lot more WarioWare with other friends. I played with Rob recently, and that was a ton of fun. Yeah, I just keep playing WarioWare. I love it. I like playing it by myself. I like playing it with other people. I have been playing that a lot. Alan Wake, I made my way through one of the bonus episodes of the original game. I've got one more to go, and then I'm going to jump into Control and try to get through the Remedy-verse before I play Alan Wake 2, so I'm excited for that. Obviously played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then people that are watching the YouTube might have seen in the background of my video, I've got my RGB 30 in, the new Powkiddy Chinese handheld in with the square screen. I've been playing that a lot. And I've been getting way into Pico 8 games, gang. I only put a couple on here because I've been trying out a ton of them. If you buy Pico 8, which is like a $15 flat purchase, you can just throw it on your system, and then it has Wi-Fi on it, so you can just download games directly from the Splorer app, which is kind of like, everybody just kind of throws their games who makes a Pico 8 game up on the website if they're putting it up for free. So you can just browse games and download them. So I've been trying out a ton of them. one of them I have on here is Celeste 2, which is made by Matty Thorson. Celeste was originally a Pico 8 game, and Matty Thorson made a sequel on Pico 8. It's got a whole new mechanic. It's instead of the double jump, you have a grappling hook. It's very similar to Mario Wonder, the Vine badge from Mario Wonder. It's like that, but a fucking hard as hell pixel perfect platformer, and so that's really fun to play on the square screen. It looks gorgeous on that thing, so I'm playing a lot of that. I also picked up a game called Cosmic Collapse, which is
That's Suika game.
It's a self-proclaimed Suika like. But it's basically Suika game, but with planets. And it also adds in, but it's in pixel art and beautiful, and it's on Pico 8, so it looks prettier. And it also has like a bit of a thing where if you get enough points, then you get a missile that you can destroy one of the planets. So it actually like makes it easier to have longer play sessions and get higher scores. And so for that reason, I really like it. And the music is just great. And it's just, I don't know. I really like the aesthetics of this more than I like the aesthetics of Suika game, even though I do also like the cuteness of Suika game. But yeah, so I've been playing a lot of like Pico 8 games because they have a square aspect ratio and it plays really well on this device. Another thing that has an almost square aspect ratio that plays wonderfully on this thing is Game Boy games, right? So I've been playing a lot of Game Boy games, some of them jumping around between a ton of them, but I have started a playthrough of Pokemon Crystal that I'm one to actually see through. I've never actually played Pokemon Crystal before. I played Pokemon Gold way back in the day. But now that I have this thing and it's like can fit in my pocket and it's like a fun little whip out and play every once in a while thing, I'm actually planning on playing through Pokemon Crystal on this. So I'm enjoying that. And that's been kind of like a go-to every once in a while thing. I've been playing so much more on this. It's like a lot of my time has just been like fucking around with this, trying out different games. A lot of vertical arcade shooters are really great on this really tall screen. So I've been playing a lot of like shmups and stuff like that. And that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this past week. What about you, Summer?
Yeah. So I another podcast that I like to listen to recently released a bonus episode about The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And it came a couple of months after their bonus episode about Ocarina of Time. And I listening to it, and they get to a point where they're like, okay, this is where we're going to start talking spoilers. And I was like, it's impressive that I haven't been spoiled on either of these games that are, decades old. So yeah, it's about time that I started playing these games. So I'm
very surprised. I did not know this about you, that you had.
Oh, yeah. So the only Legend of Zelda games that I have played are the original for the NES, and that was the version that is on the 3DS, so not good. And then, and I watched my sister play a lot, but like not enough to really like fully like grasp them. Tears of the King, or not, Breath of the Wild, I would say was like my real true like foray into Legend of Zelda. So I felt like kind of similarly to the way that Fire Emblem Engage got me to go back and play some of the other Fire Emblem games. I was like, you know what? I really want to go back and play Legend of Zelda. And just like within minutes, I was like finding myself having a new appreciation for the modern Zelda games. But it's also like, I feel so Zelda pilled right now. I'm like, I really want to go through and try to play as many of them as I can now. And when I say a deeper appreciation, I don't just mean because of the modernity of it, however, I like, obviously there's a lot of quality of life changes that have happened, since then. But I also mean from they've built this incredible, just world. And I'm actually realizing how much I want to know more about it. Just from that, like, it's all so juicy to me. And again, I'm going to say it again. I think it's incredibly impressive that I have not been spoiled on like major story things for most of Legend of Zelda. So I'm really, really excited.
Well, here's what happens
to this journey I've been going on. Like, I understand like the key players and stuff, but I did not know what the Goron looked like in Ocarina of Time. I did not even understand that like Ocarina and all these other races like existed in these old games. It's not a thing that my brain like comprehended. So that's like been kind of delightful for me. And I actually kind of like the camera controls because there's other 3D games on the N64 that, for example, Mario 64, I cannot play that game because of how the camera controls are. Ocarina of Time does not make me sick. It is like made for smooth-brained people like myself, I think.
Z targeting kind of helps too, like being able to lock on to an enemy like that. It kind of keeps the enemy in the center of your vision.
And I'll go ahead because Patrick, I saw your reaction when I said that. I hated it at first. I thought I hated it at first, and I was using the right stick trying to change the camera. And after I got used to it, about an hour in, I was like, wait, I'm not nauseous. I like this game.
No, that makes sense. I just tried to replay it at some point within the last year and was like, I gave up pretty quick because I was like, I can't handle the camera in that game. But
yeah. Now, a lot of people are telling me that maybe the water temple is where I'm going to give up, but we'll see. I'm getting through Death Mountain right now. That's as far as I've gotten. And then I have gone back to, I'm going through NSO stuff right now. I'm like, I'm paying for it. I'm going back to Fire Emblem Blazing Blade on the Game Boy Advance. Finally getting to the point where I, accidentally gave up last time. I say accidentally just because I was playing it on my phone. And I don't think about playing games on my phone, which what's funny about that is what I'll talk about next. But I'm getting back into the swing of that as well. I'm feeling inspired to go back to these franchises that I quote unquote love, but haven't played all of these actually, the critically acclaimed older titles that are still really good today. So I'm still playing Pokemon Go, and I'm going to talk about it because this weekend, Mega Garchomp was just recently added to the game, and it was a big thing. And it was my first time really participating in a community event. And we went to a nearby park that had a lot of gyms and raids happening where you could get Mega Garchomp. And we met so many people who this is just a thing that people do. And just in my city, so I assume in every other city, so many people are still playing Pokemon Go, making friends, talking to strangers, doing trades and battles in real time, in real life, and outside. And it was kind of rainy too, and there were still 100 people out here playing Pokemon Go. So that's why I bring it up, because I was just tickled, going outside and getting to interact with people still.
2016 all over again.
How many years later? Well, there's just a huge community still. It's not 2016 still, but now it's the people who are they're invested in it, and they take their Saturday to go out and do this. And that was just, I was like, man, this is nice. I feel good. I felt good doing it. I'll say it. I don't feel bad playing Pokemon Go. I don't feel guilty anymore.
You should not feel guilty playing video games.
I met people and that's so here, right? That's the weird thing that happens for me. I don't feel guilty playing video games. I feel guilty playing mobile games sometimes because a lot of the time when I'm playing mobile games, I'm like, well, I could be playing a real video game or whatever. So that's a whole other I think thing that maybe a lot of us have been grappling with for the past decade. It felt more like a community experience than it did playing a video game, I guess. And that was nice. That's me. I'm done talking. Hans, what have you been playing?
So a couple weeks back, I started to play Myst again. My dad had Myst growing up, and my brother and I tried playing through it, and couldn't really figure it out on our own. So we got Dad's guidebook that he had and played through it when we were kids. But I played through that a little bit. I have very ADHD brain though, so it's hard for me to really stick with something unless it's really engaging for me. And I was struggling a little bit with Myst. I did boot up Riven just briefly, but I don't think I'm in the mindset to play that right now. But I probably will try to soon.
I think getting through training your brain on Myst will get you much more in the position to appreciate Riven. Yeah.
And then we played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, all of us, and what was it, 8 people, maybe 7 people? It was a lot of people. And it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. And then the main thing that I've been playing is a game on Steam called Factorio. Have you guys heard of Factorio?
Yeah. I've heard of it.
So I play it with I have my own world, and I've played it with my brother-in-law. What happened is it was on my brother-in-law's Steam wish list, and I bought it for him for his birthday. And he was having so much fun with it that he was like, "We really need to play co-op." So I ended up getting it for myself, and then we've played co-op some. It is a wildly addictive game. I ended up staying up until like midnight last night playing with him, and I should not have. But it's this very satisfying, like you just start building things that help you build other things, and those things can go into some other thing that helps you build more things, and you have this whole system in place. It's like, oh, I've got this iron ore mine that is going into these furnaces that are going into steel, which is going to make gears, which is going in to make, circuit boards with these copper wires. Like you do all of this stuff and you have like this kind of spaghetti splayed out. But when you plug it in and it works, it is so satisfying. So you'll spend like hours on it and not even realize that you've done that. But it's a very fun game. Unfortunately, the creators have this weird stance about putting it on sale in that they don't, because they feel like, oh, we don't want one person to feel cheated because somebody else got it for cheaper. Like nobody thinks that way, but in fact, it has actually gone up in price since it was released. So that's unfortunate. So you can't ever get it on sale, but it is a very good game, and they do update it constantly. I think there's a big update coming out fairly soon. So it's really good. I don't know how well it plays on Steam Deck. I would imagine it wouldn't play very well because it has like a lot of keyboard shortcuts and stuff. But
you'd be
maybe
surprised. There's a lot of like cool little things you can do with the touchpads and macros and whatever to make keyboard shortcuts easily accessible.
But yeah, that's the main thing I've been playing. Just playing that with my brother-in-law. It's been a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hans, for coming on and joining us to talk about Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been listening to the show for a while. It's really good to. It's really fun to be able to be on it. So
yeah,
hell yeah, I love having you.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, you can find me most places online as PDYX.
You can find me at Weebwitched.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Hans? Where can people find you online?
I'm on Discord mainly. I deleted my Twitter account because it was bringing me less joy than I wanted it to. But I'm very active on Letterboxd. Please follow me on Letterboxd. I love Letterboxd. I'm at Hans Gougar on Letterboxd.
There we go.
It's like my favorite thing. So follow me on Letterboxd. I don't think anybody else has shouted out their Letterboxd profile, but I'm going to.
Hell yeah. We love that. Definitely follow Hans on Letterboxd. I got to get my Letterboxd up to speed again. I like don't use it for a while, and then I'm like, oh my god, I got to remember every movie I watched. I reviewed 2 years.
I reviewed your short film on Letterboxd.
Oh fuck! All right, well now I got to follow you on Letterboxd. Well, yeah, you can definitely follow Hans there. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We don't have a Letterboxd yet, but maybe soon. We got a website, switchheadz.com. And then we got a Discord and a Facebook group. I'll have links to both of those in the description of this episode, whether you listen to it on Spotify and Apple, or whether you watch it on YouTube with the video stuff in there. If you do that, make sure you drop us a like and a subscribe. I said do again. Over there on the YouTube. That's going to do it for this episode on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 6 DLC, including Rainbow Road from Mario Kart Wii. What a fucking game. What a value. What a savings. We're going to be back next week with a brand new episode, so make sure you don't change that dial. We'll be back, so listen to that one too. And in the meantime, gang, you know the drill. Be safe. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. I'll see you guys on the tracks. And other than that, we love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.